schedules of payments to consider and endorse the monthly accounts. Do you have any questions, queries or anything that you want to raise? No? Okay, so you're happy to endorse the monthly accounts? Item 6B, Budget and Monitoring Report, to consider and endorse the phased budget monitoring report. Again, questions, queries, comments? No? You're happy to consider and endorse? Item C, year-end adjustments, to endorse. Is this item C or are you going back to B?
No, C, sir.
C, right. Clark then, please.
You'll see there's two recommendations there for reasons I'll go into in a minute. The second one falls away at this stage. The first one is asking that in the event that we actually have any areas of underspend, which we will have in certain cost codes, that we reallocate those in the first instance to making up for any areas where we have overspend. So you'll see there are one or two areas within the previous phase budget report. So that's really just a practical issue. We were hoping to be able to bring you a schedule of year-end adjustments. Unfortunately, we've been unable to do so because we haven't got far enough on in terms of March figures for that, so we will bring that to you at your next meeting and we'll then need to make suitable adjustments to the year end. So if you're happy to endorse item 1, that's all we can do at this meeting, sir.
You're happy to do that? I've always got slight concerns about virement because it tends to make it look as though at the end of it you haven't got an underspend or an overspend, but and there is an issue about monitoring the budgets and it gets more difficult if things get moved. But this is year-end virement, as they were talking about.
Yeah, yes, it is. And what you will get is you will get a phased budget report as at 31st March, which will show you all the areas where you have either overspend or underspend, as the case may be, across all cost centres.
Okay, so we've endorsed that. And then 6D, tenders. You're authorising the clerk, the mayor and or the deputy mayor. But did I not understand from the general manager these have already been opened and accepted?
Some have, but there are some which remain outstanding. So this is effectively to endorse what's been done in terms of the process, because we aren't in a position to accept without your consent, and secondly, for those which remain to be considered, to give the authority in relation to those. So effectively, it is covering the authority both to issue, but also, most importantly of all, to accept.
As I recall, we had a recent audit report which suggested that we weren't following due process because we weren't formally recording in the minutes of the council meeting that we'd authorised X, Y or Z to do A, B or C. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. So has anybody got any problems with that? Are you happy with it? Okay, so if we move on to item 7 then, Budget and Policy Committee, consider the minutes of the meeting held on the 13th of March. You've all brought your documents with you, I know. I hope you have, because I haven't brought mine. Is there any... I don't need to formally present these, do I, or do I?
I think you normally do, sir.
Oh, well, never mind what I normally do. Let's have a look, because I haven't got to... I couldn't find mine. I probably left them in Jan's desk. Right, so I present the minutes of the Budget and Policy Committee meeting held on Tuesday the 13th of March. I will go through them numerically. Stop me, please, if there's anything you want to deal with. So, 317, 318, 319, 320, with all its various bits, 321, 322, 321's been picked up in item 16, by the way, and the other one, previous one's with item 9. 322,
so a reminder of the training dates
for GDPR.
Yeah. You have a course book. We went 2 weeks ago. That was on planning. Most are getting training. But we were on this as well. Not at this point, I don't think. Right, okay.
I would strongly advise members, if you get some time, just to go on the internet, because the GDPR stuff is pretty intense. It places substantial responsibilities on a large number of people, not just the clerk. The clerk, as I understand it, is actually going to be our DPO, is that right? No?
No, we've indicated that we would, because the clerk is responsible for the processes that you have in place and therefore already has responsibilities to avoid a conflict of interest, provisionally and subject to receiving more information, which we've yet to receive. I'm just looking at my colleague. We're looking at, on a temporary basis, appointing our internal auditor, who has indicated that they will be providing that service at a quite economical rate.
Yeah, sorry, I did know that. I'd said that provocatively just to check that he was still with me because I was turning pages quite rapidly. It wouldn't be appropriate for him to be the DPO, I don't think anyway, but I would advise members, if you get a chance, to just look on the internet. There is some quite stringent requirements that we've got to deal with. If we turn over on 322, still on 322A and B, we're being recommended that the Town Council authorise the clerk. So if we accept these minutes, that's where we'll be. 323.
323.
Yep.
At the Budget and Policy Committee, we were presented with proposals for the public realm work surrounding the market, Pannier Market. Within that document, or within the drawing, or on the drawing, if you like, it showed an element which was described as a heritage element. The Budget and Policy Committee agreed to go forward with the proposals that were presented to them, and subsequently those proposals were sent out to organisations, various organisations, with a note that Budget and Policy had agreed what was in front of them. In response, in particular, 3 members of the forum, Tavistock Forum, Heritage Forum, disagreed with the inclusion of the heritage element for various reasons. One of them going to extreme length to explain the reasons, the others just saying we agree with that one. And there was a response from the General Manager, and I'm hoping that he can respond again tonight, saying that he would continue with the scheme as proposed without, as far as I understand it, the heritage element. I just would like the General Manager to explain, or to come forward tonight with his proposal for how we're going to take that element forward if we're discounting it from the scheme that was in front of Budget and Policy.
General Manager, please.
I'd be delighted to. We removed that element from the contract because I think we all realise that there's extremely tight timelines around delivering May/June before the opening of Butchers Hall. Realistically, with the responses from the Heritage Forum, I would very much doubt that we would have reached agreement over the next 12 months around wording for some heritage plaques in the surfacing. So I've had a conversation with the project manager for the THI around the principles of complementary initiatives. He has had discussions with some of the representatives at the Heritage Forum, as have I, only of yesterday. We will have a linked-up approach which brings into account the interpretation strategy for the Guildhall project. We will incorporate the same principles when we look at the public realm design for the Guildhall car park, and then continue with implementing the heritage plaques, stroke trails, etc. for the Pannier Market. So it's something that we've removed from the contract at this date, but we can reintroduce at a later date once we have reached agreement with the Heritage Forum and other key stakeholders.
Did you wish to respond, Councillor Smith?
I see where that's coming from, but I think it's unfortunate that the members of the forum who were very vociferous over it have allowed what they've done is pushed a strategy on us that we weren't planning. It's not a strategy that came forward at budget and policy. We were going to go forward with what we had. I can understand that there might be a heritage element to, or there would be a heritage element to the Guildhall car park, but I think there's a downside that if you remove the heritage element from around the Pannier Market, it's going to be some time now, with the way that we're taking that forward, before you actually, I mean, that was meant to be a heritage trail to encourage people to go down past Butcher's Hall, down to the other end, etc., and they could follow the trail through. We've now removed that element, and it may be some time before we put that element back. So we could get the others who were in favour of it suggesting that we're removing that positive side of getting people to go down that side of the market.
At the risk of being facetious, a pot of yellow paint might work if we could do the yellow brick road, but is there any further comment?
I would be delighted to reintroduce the heritage plaques if those representatives would wish to meet with me with immediate effect to provide a steer on what we could have around the Pannier Market.
Does this council wish to instruct the General Manager to reinstate that?
Mr. Mayor, the other members there, but I feel we ought to at least investigate that, and I think as this minute is written, the scheme that came before budget and policy has been amended, and therefore we're not really agreeing the same scheme. If we agree tonight, we're agreeing on an amended scheme. I only wanted to bring that point forward so that all members knew that it was, because not all members were circulated on all of the information that came from the three particular people. I was on there because of my involvement with the forum, but not all members were involved. So members will see this tonight. The plans were in the corner when we had budget and policy, but we're actually talking about something different if we go through by removing the heritage element. Only a minor change, but I think we ought to try and have some sort of element put back in to show that we're not going to be swayed by the position of three particular people who haven't been best friends of this council in the past.
Clark, please.
I think I understand fully what's said, and I've been out of the loop for a little while. I think the only observation I would make is that the three people actually represent one organisation who is represented on the Heritage Advisory Forum. Two of the others have attended in the past, and they certainly have skills in that area, but they have also been engaged, as in employed by the organisation. So you actually have one organisation and three representatives of the same organisation who are, if you like, this particular interest group, as opposed to it representing three separate organisations. And for those of you who may not be aware, the Tavistock Heritage Advisory Forum is comprised of probably about 14 or 15 organisations as opposed to individuals.
Right, if I'm understanding this, at the moment, we're seeking to approve the minutes of the Budget and Policy Committee meeting that was made on whatever date it was, and that as part of that, there is a recommendation that the Council authorise the issuing of tenders for the public realms work. The Budget and Policy Committee agreed that on the basis of certain documents and illustrations, if there is a wish that that should be changed, then I think that would need to come up as an amendment to these minutes. Otherwise, it should proceed on the basis of whatever it was we agreed at Budget and Policy. And the only other alternative would be to refer the whole thing back to Budget and Policy. But frankly, if we've agreed at Budget and Policy, that's what's coming forward to us tonight. And unless somebody's going to propose that that be amended, we should go with that, should we not?
I think the amendment should be, as has been suggested, that the General Manager attempts to reintroduce a heritage element to the scheme that we're agreeing tonight.
Well, I think it's in there, isn't it? That's the point I'm making, is that what's before us tonight includes the heritage bit, because that's what we looked at when we dealt with the budget and policy, didn't we? So I think unless somebody wants to argue that, a council member wants to argue that we should take it out, then to my mind it's in. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Johnson first.
Would this change have any impact on the funding that we draw down for the project? I wouldn't wish any funding to be jeopardised because the scheme is different to what it originally was.
General Manager.
The core elements of the eligible costings for the public realm relate to the resin bonded finish and the granite crossings. There are certain parts of the budget which relate to elements of street furniture and potential lighting enhancements, but they are risk items which are still to be debated on whether they're actually eligible or not. In relation to the heritage plaques, that is most likely risk items under the public realm, but might well be an eligible cost under complementary initiatives, which is a separate budget for the THI.
Councillor Williamson.
We were shown some drawings by LePage, the architects, in which of one of them there was a little inset of just one plaque. I don't think budget policy was actually consulted in any further detail than that, if my recollection is correct. So we saw just one plaque. We didn't know really, as far as I could tell, what we were signing off, whether it was 1, 20, 7, or in fact that there was a trail. So I think, as a point of detail, we need to be clear that we were given an overview of what we were signing off, and we were, in general terms, in my recollection, in agreement with that.
Right, and it comes back, for me, it becomes a point of principle at certain stages. It's who's actually undertaking the work, whose property is it on, and what are we trying to achieve at the end. Now, I don't mind taking advice from other people or suggestions, but is it not down to us at the end of the day to make a decision as to what we want? I haven't forgotten.
No, we...
All right. Councillor Hughes, you were raising your hand just now.
I was going to say that we had promised the traders down that side of the market that we were going to do everything to draw people round to that side of the market so that they didn't automatically walk towards Duke's, that they did walk by the cheese shop, butchers and all the rest of it. You know, we know as locals they're destination stores, but we have said and we have worked with the traders along that side to say that we would encourage business. You know, there's the issues we've had with cafes down that end and things like that, and we have assured them all that we were going to do everything we could to draw the eye and the foot as it marches along down that side of the market. And, you know, I do feel a bit disappointed about that.
Councillor Hutton.
I've not seen these letters from these three people, and I think if we're being asked to make decisions about a change that's been done because other people who we don't know have written letters in, I think I need to see the letters, or at least know what they're objecting to.
Councillor Crawford.
Yes, and I was going to ask something very similar, because, forgive my ignorance, but you've just said 14 heritage organisations are involved. These are 3 individuals from the same organisation, and it feels to me as if they're the ones that are making the decisions, and the general manager has been put into a difficult position because it's a matter of time. It's about the timing as much as anything else, and he doesn't want to get into it. And I can understand that, but I think, you know, this is a council decision, and yes, I'd like to know the reasons. I'd like to echo what Councillor.
We need to make some progress on this. General Manager, have you got a sensible way forward that will deal with this issue? But I will preface that by saying I feel quite strongly that this council needs to be clear that it's council property and that we need to do what we need to do. And we're very willing to listen to advice and comments from other people, but the ultimate decision sits in this room. General Manager?
As part of the THI scheme, the Heritage Forum as a body are an advisory group that we go out to and consult with regards to the project. They do have a representative that sits at the monitor meetings and also on the project management board to feed back to their organisation. In relation to where we're at in regards to the public realm designs, we're in a position where they are worked up, they are amended. I'm more than happy to circulate all the email correspondence and my response to informal members of my current position, which is extremely clear. I wouldn't say, from Councillor Crawford's point of view, that I've probably been bounced into a position. We are challenged under time. It's one of those scenarios where I potentially could have a protracted political debate, which would probably be ongoing over the next 3 months around the principles of heritage plaques. The main challenge with regards to the public realm and what Councillor Ewins brought up, the point with regards to drawing people to the right, the design has been consideration about the design with the population of the granite closest to the Whole Foods section, the heritage trail, the destination seating outside Needlecraft. All of those are elements which have been taken into account to try and draw people automatically to the right, as is the seating to the rear by TAS to encourage people all the way around. We've got to be realistic though. The actual existing THI public realm budget is 112,000, which is £12,000 worth of landlord contributions, 100,000 above and beyond for heritage materials, of which the seating and lighting elements are risk items. So, as would be the heritage plaques. So, where I'm going out with the tenders, I do not think it's a position to fall on my sword and make an element which is a risk item a delay or a challenge around the actual process of going out to tender, but it's something that can easily be reintroduced into the actual scheme at any time post the actual resurfacing works, which is a critical element around the resin bonding and the granite crossings.
Can somebody clarify for me then, please, either the General Manager or the Clerk, what it is we're being asked to authorise tonight? Because the recommendation is that the Council authorise the issuing of tenders, but are we saying that it's on the basis of we don't really know what's in the tender, or? So I'm not clear at the moment what we're being asked to authorise.
The tender is
before Councillor Ewings leaves, you did declare a personal interest just now, did you not, when you were talking about going down to the right-hand side? It's okay.
The tender is exactly as was presented to councillors at the budget and policy, except the removal of 3 heritage plaques which are set in the ground. 3.
Are members happy to go ahead on that?
Yeah.
Right. I understand the General Manager had some report back on item B as well, is that correct?
Yes.
If you're worried about it, it was the Clerk that dropped you in it, not me.
Thank you, Clark. From the budget and policy meeting, it was agreed that we would then consult with all perimeter shops around the design. I'm delighted to say that all perimeter shops have been extremely supportive of all elements of the design that have been presented. With each perimeter shop, we've had a detailed consultation which has covered off where we're at with the existing Pannier Market works, when we're looking to move traders back into the Pannier Market, when we're looking to launch Butcher's Hall, which is mid-July, and around the implications and impact of the public realm. Every perimeter shop has been complimentary with regards to the designs, and have accepted the resin bonded finish, the granite crossings, the principles of the street furniture, the principles of the lighting or the wash lighting on the building, etc., and the heritage plaques. So the consultation we finished today with the last two perimeter shops. We've also written letters to all of Duke Street properties and tenants to inform them of exactly where we're at, that the public realm designs are available to view on the website. It's been made clear to all the perimeter shops that we will have a second consultation in about 3 weeks' time once tenders are back. We've had a meeting with the preferred contractor because we'll be able to provide a more detailed programme of works and around when it's going to realistically impact individual traders or individual shopkeepers. The works are about 6 to 8 weeks, starting hopefully first week in May with completion at the end of June. That's it.
Right, thank you for that. So 324, 325.
It's not it. I missed the most important bit, actually. The most important bit, which I'm hoping that will be supported by Council at this stage, is undertaking a short-term view around how we are going to treat the perimeter, which will be that once a public realm surfacing has been implemented, that we will not have any vehicles parked around the perimeter during the operation of the pannier market, that we will not have any permanent marquees set around the perimeter after the public realm has been completed, but we may have localised events, whether it be garden festival when we put marquees out, or Christmas markets or something like that. And for the short term, we will support the status quo of having seating out for the free cafes, which relates to Duke's, Bob's Cafe and Poppy's, until we're in a position that the council revisits strategically their approach around outside trading. If you're happy to support that view.
Thank you. 326, 327, 328, 329, 330. Sorry? No, because we're not discussing. Well, if somebody's going to raise something, we do, yes. Otherwise, I'm just simply reporting the minutes.
I think on the agenda it says that you take from 329 on later, I believe.
Okay, I'll stop at 328 and I'll come back then. We would normally do that, but we shouldn't need to do all this on there, but there we go. Item 8, Development Management and Licensing Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Forgive me if I seem to be squinting at this. I managed to come out without my reading glasses. So, I present the minutes of the meeting of Tuesday the 6th of March. Minutes numbers 308 through to 316. If I could draw members' attention to Appendix B. There was one application where your committee voted to support, and this was the Mount Kelly Foundation on the former Hazelden Prep School site, where this is a revised application which has reduced the number of houses they wish to buy and has improved the prominence of the existing Hazelden house. I think this is an application that is likely to be controversial, and no doubt this council will be held to account for its vote to support. I merely bring that to your attention. So if I may now present to you the minutes of the meeting on 26th of March, that is to say yesterday, minutes 331 through to 339. On this occasion, I don't feel there were any contentious or controversial applications. I beg to move.
Seconder? Thank you. Those in favour? Thank you. If we move on then to item 9, Guildhall Funding Service Level Agreement to receive an oral brushing. Is that from you?
Yes, it is, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Members will all have had circulated to them a copy of the draft heads of terms for the funding agreement. It's a one-page document, the two sides there. I think two things I'd like to draw your attention to in particular, one of which was mentioned by Mr. Bagwell earlier on today, which is under item 5 of lease arrangements, where it was discussed at the meeting between representatives of the two parties about the general repairing obligation being removed from the lease, and that was something that you considered previously. That is to say, the lease was something you considered previously, so that would be a material change to the lease other than in the circumstances which are listed there. The other thing is that on item 2 on the first page where it says the form of the agreement, this is what Councillor Smith was referring to earlier. It is actually quite a detailed form of agreement, so if you are amenable, what we will do is, if you endorse this tonight, if you are comfortable with the approach which is being adopted, Tavistock Heritage Trust is considering it tomorrow night. If they also endorse it, what we will do is, as officers, we'll seek to work up a draft agreement, and then we'll, of course, run it by the lawyers in order that the appropriate legal niceties can be achieved to provide the safeguards which Mr. Bagwell outlined earlier.
Thank you. Anything from members? No. Move on then. Item circulated for information only. Item 10.1, General Manager's Report. Anything on that anyone wishes to raise? Works Department Report. Town Hall enclosed. Goodness me, that's quite a trick. How is that possible? The whole Town Hall in this paper, is it? Any comments, questions? No. Pannier Market enclosed? No. Move on to item 11 then, Finance and Other Matters, to receive for information the following. Report of the Assistant to Town Clerk. Comments, questions? No. B, Town Hall and Markets Consultative Group. No. C, Tavistock Townscape Heritage Initiative Progress Report. D, any questions from, update from or questions to representatives serving on outside bodies? Has anyone got anything they want to raise on any of the outside bodies? Councillor Johnson and Councillor Roberts on the previous item. Which was that, 11C?
11D, actually.
Yeah. Sorry, it's the clerk trying to confuse me. I'll take Councillor Roberts first now, and then Councillor Johnson.
Just to make you aware that the bid manager is leaving next week.
Right. That's interesting.
And also to add to that, the process has started to appoint a replacement.
Okay. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. Kingdom House, as you know, a funding application has been put into the Greater Dartmoor Leaf. If that was successful, we would have sufficient funds to undertake phase 1 of our building repairs, which is to make the building watertight. We had hoped to hear by now the results of that funding application. As I understand it, there's not a problem with it, but all the funding applications in that round have been delayed until the 10th of April. So fingers crossed it will be successful then. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Squires? No. No? Oh, right. Okay. Item 12 then, communications submitted by the Mayor. Oh, sorry, we should go back, I suppose, on the outside bodies. Dartmoor National Park Authority have now finished their sort of long period of reflection on the development management side following the departure of Stephen, whatever he was called, and have now substantively appointed Chris Hart as the head of development management. They have appointed James Avon as the Deputy Head of Development Management and Dan Janota as the Head of Strategic and Forward Planning. The titles that I've given you aren't entirely accurate, but they're as best I can remember. So those 3 positions are now filled substantively. They've been in an acting role for at least 12 months, I think, since Stephen Belli went. But that's just been announced in the last couple of weeks. Item 12, nothing. Item 13, nothing. Item 14, Councillor Smith, please. Thank you. Budget and policy, so the only one I had left was 330.